Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the training of the Blood Angels chapter, with the artistic heritage of Sanguinius. Spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from the Warhammer 40k novel Dante by author Guy Hayley. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. So the Space Marines, the face of 40k. If you know anything about the grimdark universe, you know these guys. For most of us fans of the hobby, the number one faction. For virtually everyone, the first tabletop army you were introduced to as a kid. While the Ultramarines may be the undoubted poster boys, there's a chapter for everyone. Whether colour scheme or character, there's a uniqueness of personality that speaks to us all. And perhaps one more than any other, if their apparent popularity is anything to go by. The Blood Angels chapter. Anytime we've had a contest or fan vote over the years, Sanguinius and the Blood Angels have pretty much always come out the victor, and usually winning by a country mile. The Blood Angels are quite simply a fascinating chapter, one of the few that just stands apart over others, a true top tier legacy. The great angel Sanguinius, their Primarch, the man who faced down the hordes of the War Master during the Siege of Terror, the man who gave his life in the ultimate sacrifice, and the man who, through that sacrifice, would burden his sons forever after. While the sons of the Great Angel have always shared all aspects of their Primarch's character, it was truly only after his death that they became equal shades of light and dark. With the Blood Angels and all the sons of Sanguinius constantly having to fight and resist the thirst and rage that plagues their bloodline, you may have expected them to look back on their Primarch with disdain, or to feel unfairly treated. Such a reaction would be only natural. Yet you couldn't be more wrong. For it's those curses that give the angels their strength, their resilience, their resolve. And it's the teachings of Sanguinius that still to this day lift his sons out of the darkness to enlightenment, helping to make them more than mere soldiers, to make them the Emperor's angels. And one of the best glimpses of this we've received over the years came from the novel Dante by Guy Hayley. Now, in being named Dante, you may have obviously guessed it follows the legendary chapter master himself, and it's actually through glimpsing his own past that we get a precious glimpse into the unique manner of Blood Angel training, a method that crafts them as men and not merely weapons. While Dante may be the legendary chapter master we know now, he underwent the chapter's training the same as any other neophyte, and there was a particular moment, having been successfully initiated into the chapter, that a young neophyte Dante and his fellow recruits assembled into their first training hall. They debated and wondered just what manner or method of war they would be taught first. Would it be guns, hand to hand, or blade to blade? Yet when the lights sprang to life within the hall, rather than a training range or armory they found themselves in, it was a classroom, a workshop. And the first instructor for these gene-enhanced angels of death was the master of artistry. I am Brother Kayfiel, master of artistry. He clanked closer. Artistry? We were supposed to be warriors, said Laziel. holding up the paintbrush. "How am I supposed to defend the Imperium with this?" A nervous laugh rippled through the neophytes. Caithiel increased his pace and came to a stop before Laziel. He stared at the neophyte long and hard. Laziel waved the paintbrush at him. Too quickly to see, Caithiel swung out his arm and sent the young Space Marine sprawling to the ground. "I have served the chapter for 600 years, said Caithiel. 90 years ago, I was crippled. I am no more fit for combat duty. Do not underestimate me because of my infirmity. I may be half a man, but I am twice the warrior you are." He held out his organic arm to Laziel and hauled him back up. Laziel bobbed his head apologetically. You can understand the neophyte's confusion here. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, they are legendary figures of war across the Imperium. They are the Emperor's Angels, quite literally in the case of the Blood Angels. They are gene-enhanced giants to the ordinary human, and the last thing you'd expect to see training as one, let alone the first thing you see, is a paintbrush. And this really goes to highlight the uniqueness of the Blood Angels character. Though all chapters have their own traditions and divergences embedded into their training, the Ultramarines' adherence to the Codex, the Space Wolves undergoing the Mark of Rust, crossing the Gate of Morkai, there are truly few, if any others, who address the aspect of character before the tools of war. Again, yes, other chapters will instill their traditions at some point, maybe throughout the entire training process, but the Blood Angels here address the mind before anything else, before the neophytes have even seen a bolter. And in a simple few words to the neophytes before him, Caithiel not only lays out the need for this unorthodox training, but really shows us how and why the legacy of Sanguinius lives on. How the hallmarks of Sanguinius are all over the Blood Angels chapter, even 10,000 years later. And how even now, his philosophy still remains the guiding light for his sons. There are many battles you must fight as Blood Angels. None are as hard as the one you will fight with yourself. You will have noticed the great thirst that you feel. The scattered neophytes nodded. In a circle, comport yourselves like warriors, not a rabble, shouted Caithiel. The neophytes quickly rearranged themselves. The thirst will abate as you adjust to your change, but it will return throughout your lives, and when it does, it can overthrow sanity. Here I will teach you the 5 angelic graces, so that you might learn to control the thirst, which we name as red, and to avoid its worst twin, the rage, which we name as black. Caithiel fixed them all with his ferocious stare. These urges derive from the passions of Sanguinius. We are fortunate to feel such emotion, for we harness it for the purposes of our art and our war-making. But there is danger in it. Sanguinius was made to be perfect. We are made in his image, but alas, we are not perfect. And such great passions as he bore overfill the human soul so that reason spills out. A man cannot bear easily the collar of a demigod, for though the gifts given you are many and varied in their wondrousness, great power brings evil with it in many forms. As you learn to control your gifts, you must learn to control your passions, the red and the black, and direct them to your will, lest they supplant it. His revelation stunned the neophytes into silence. You will learn more of the Red Thirst and the Black Rage in time, how they affect you, and where they come from. For now, let it be known that they exist, and that you must oppose them through the 5 graces of our chapter. Your first lesson is their names, he said gruffly. They are thus: focus, humility, mercy, restraint, and the last and greatest of all, forgiveness. And thus the reason for the Blood Angels' focus on character, the constant inner struggle of their bloodline. Here we see how they class the importance of their inner strength, the mental state of mind, as equal to any battlefield feat, if not more so. And really there is no greater contest for a Blood Angel to face, no greater threat than that of their nature. It really is amazing just how much about a chapter's nature you can really learn from one single passage. One simple comment by a single character that reveals the impact of a legacy. Here, in their very first lesson as neophytes of the chapter, the angels begin to learn the truth of their curse, the darker aspects of their bloodline, the Red Thirst and the Black Rage. Though they don't know what they are truly at this point, they begin the journey to resist. As Kephiel himself relates, showing the neophytes the decoration and artistry that adorns the Blood Angel home, not created as in other chapters by their servants and thralls, by the Mechanicus, but by the Marines themselves. Make no error, the education you shall receive will broaden your minds in every direction. Deep understanding of history and mathematics, and many other subjects will be yours. The arts of war your other instructors will teach you will save your lives, and the lives of thousands of others. But the arts I shall impart will save your souls. The precision of engineering, the application of paint, the striking of the sculptor's hammer, the wielding of the calligraphy pen. Through these and more shall you defy the monsters that dwell within you. You look like Blood Angels, but you are yet boys given the power of gods. As the Blood Angels know now, Sanguinius knew then, there can be no darkness without light, and the true test of the Blood Angels will always be within. Even here at the very start, we see them schooled and prepared for it. While other chapters may be forging their recruits with bolter and blade, the Blood Angels begin with a paintbrush. We learn that the Blood Angel neophytes don't even begin combat training until 4 weeks after they've begun their artistry education, which goes to show just how important it is. In a universe so filled with enemies, in a chapter so pressed for its numbers, still the neophytes of the Blood Angels chapter spend a whole month educating in artistry before anything else. And even after, it continues on alongside all the other many aspects of Astartes trainings they undergo. In a piece of revelation for the chapter master to be, Dante, we learn that he by far and away favoured the lessons with Kephiel over all others, giving us a measure of the man he would go on to be. Over the months and years of their training, the neophytes decorate their barracks, becoming its own mini Arx Angelicum of the chapter, though they are not allowed to adorn or decorate their armour until they are full brothers of the chapter. But in this way, we get a sense of the forming of that chapter, of what it means to be a Blood Angel, a son of Sanguinius. There's an absolutely riveting short story called Better Angels by Ian St. Martin, where Sanguinius is tasking one of his sons with crafting something out of his passion, his inner nature. And it's one of those short stories that's not action focused, but that really delves in and shows you the truth of a legion. In reality, it's Sanguinius helping one of his sons to overcome the burden and trauma of losing his arm, having a bionic replacement, to help him to see his art comes from within, not the use of his hands. But it's also got a far deeper meaning and symbolism for the angel's hopes for his sons. If you've never read it, I really recommend checking it out, especially if you're a Blood Angels fan. It's a great little piece that really helps you to understand the Blood Angels character. And for our conversation today, how Sanguinius's hopes and teachings are still reflected in his sons 10,000 years later. Just how unique and individual each chapter and bloodline is. How different the training varies from chapter to chapter, even within those that adhere to the Codex Astartes. You would have to imagine, though not facing a curse within such as the Blood Angels, that perhaps the Salamanders share a similar trait, with their renowned fondness and ability with the Forge, though perhaps it's not likely begun before they begin their combat training as Astartes. As I always say, it's these little glimpses into things that really set the 40k universe apart, just showing and revealing how rich and deep the setting is. It just makes it feel so much more alive. And what a sight this is for someone new to the lore, this grimdark universe of only war, prosecuted by 8-foot-tall gene-enhanced super warriors. And here they are, beginning their training with paintbrushes. Oh, I love 40k. But as always everyone, what do you think? Are you surprised the Blood Angels spend so much time on artistry before they even begin combat training? Why do you feel it is so important to the chapter? Is it merely to face down the thirst and rage? Or is there something more? With this trait embedded into his sons since the time of the Legion, how do you feel Sanguinius would feel to see it still vitally important to his sons today? And what other chapters out there do you think could spend an equal amount of dedication on non-combat training? Are there really any that could rival the sons of Sanguinius? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.